So we are on to question number 8, and it reads, a lorry left town A for town B and maintained an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. A car left town A for town B 42 minutes later and maintained an average speed of 80 kilometers per hour. At the time the car arrived in town B, the lorry had 25 kilometers to cover to town B. Okay? Determine the distance between town A and town B. So let's try and visualize it, okay? Let's try and visualize it. We have town A and we have town B, okay? So we have a lorry which is traveling at 50 kilometers per hour, okay? After a car left town A for town B 42 minutes later. So we want to know, first of all, let's read it again. It's kind of tricky. A lorry left town A for town B and maintained an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. So that's another term meaning 50 kilometers for every 60 minutes, right? And then we're being told a car left town A for town B 42 minutes later. So the question is, what distance had the lorry covered when the car had started now moving towards the direction of town B, right? So if it travels at 50 kilometers for 60 minutes, what about 42 minutes? What's the distance that will have been covered, right? So we do 50 times 42 divided by 60. That's going to give us 35 kilometers. Okay. Now, we know now it had covered 35 kilometers. Here, this distance is 35 kilometers. And the lorry is here. Right? Now, the other question is, we continue reading the question. A car left town A for town B 42 minutes later and maintained an average speed of 80 kilometers per hour. So, by the time the car was leaving to go to town B, the lorry had covered 35 kilometers, right? Now, we see that this one is traveling at 50 kilometers per hour. And now the car is starting at 80 kilometers per hour. And they maintain the average speed, okay? So the speed does not keep on fluctuating. It maintains at that. So now we'll have to do and calculate relative speed. So the relative speed, since they are going in the same direction, we are going to deduct it, right? So it's going to be 80 minus 50. It's going to be 30 kilometers per hour, right? That's the relative speed. Now, it means that the car is gaining on the lorry at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour, okay? It's gaining at the lorry at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. So here it's where it gets a little bit tricky. They say at the time the car arrived in town B, the lorry had 25 kilometers to cover. First of all, let's get to know, when did the car catch up to the lorry? That's the first question, okay? After what time did the car catch up with the lorry? You see, the lorry starts the journey. The car starts now after the lorry has covered 35 kilometers. Now, what time does it take to catch up with the lorry? Okay, so we say that the relative speed is 30 kilometers per hour. So how do we do this? We say that the speed of 30 kilometers is covered in 1 hour. This is the relative speed. But now the distance between the car and the lorry is 35 kilometers, right? 35 kilometers. How long will it take for it to get to the lorry? The car starts at 80 kilometers per hour. The lorry is moving at 50 kilometers per hour. The distance between them is 35 kilometers. So the relative speed is 30 kilometers per hour. The distance to be covered to get to the lorry is 35 kilometers. So we say relative speed 30 kilometers per hour, okay? Distance to be covered is 35 kilometers. So what time will it take? It's going to be 35 divided by 30. That's going to be 7/6 hours, right? So what this means is it took the car 7/6 hours to get to the lorry while the lorry was still traveling at 50 kilometers per hour and while the car was traveling at 80 kilometers per hour. Okay? I hope we are together there. Now the question comes and then tells us, at the time the car arrived in town B, the lorry had 25 kilometers to cover to town B. So you see, the thing is now, after the car caught up with the lorry, it continued with the relative speed and left the lorry behind with a distance of 25 kilometers. Okay? It left the lorry behind with a distance of 25 kilometers, still traveling at the relative speed of 30 kilometers per hour. So our question is, this is kind of, you have to get it. Our question is, what time will it take for the car to leave the lorry behind at a distance of 25 kilometers? That is where the catch is. I know it's a little bit tricky. Now let's read the whole question again. It says a lorry left town A for town B and maintained an average speed of 50 kilometers. Lorry traveling at 50 kilometers per hour. A car left town A for town B 42 minutes later, meaning the lorry had already covered 35 kilometers, right? And maintained an average speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Okay. Now meaning the car is going to be gaining on the lorry at 30 kilometers per hour relative speed. Now that means car reaches to lorry after 7/6 hours, okay? After car reaches to lorry, car overtakes lorry and goes and gets to the destination, okay? After some given time, while leaving the lorry behind by 25 kilometers. Okay? So the question is, listen to me. The question is, what is going to be the time the lorry is going to gain on, the car is going to gain on the lorry and get a distance of 25 kilometers between it and the lorry? So it's still the same, it's still the same logic. We say the relative speed is 30 kilometers to cover 1 hour. 30 kilometers is covered in 1 hour, okay? Now, we need to gain and leave the lorry with 25 kilometers. 25 kilometers. How long is that going to take us? It's going to take us 25 over 30. It is going to be 5/6 hours, right? So 7/6 is the time the car took to get to the lorry. 5/6 is the time the car took to overtake the lorry and gain a distance of 25 kilometers, okay? Now we combine this. We say now the time it took to get to the lorry and the time it took to leave the lorry with 25 kilometers is going to be a total of what time? It's going to be 7/6 plus 5/6. That's going to give us 12/6. It's going to give us 2 hours. Okay, so it means in the whole journey it took the car 7/6 hours to get to the lorry. It took the car 5/6 hours to leave the lorry with 25 kilometers. Now another trick is, how will we get the distance now? How will we get the distance? It's so simple right now. Since we know that car has been traveling with at 2 hours and its original speed is 80 kilometers per hour, okay? Not the relative speed now. The original speed is 80 kilometers per hour. So we are going to say 80 kilometers per hour multiplied by 2 hours is going to be 160 kilometers. So the distance between town A and town B is 160 kilometers, and that's how we solve that question.